have to remember once it goes live to put it on pause, because that's what happened on Tisha B'Av. I didn't put it on pause, and then we had the double video for the first couple minutes. That's what it was, if anybody was wondering what the background was. Okay. Done what I have to do. It's on pause. Let me go back to the screen. You should be able to see everything. I'm just checking one more thing. We have one more minute. And people are still coming on, which is great. So wonderful to see everyone. And let's see if we're on live. And we are. Okay. Oh, more people are coming on. That's great. We have a wonderful, wonderful group of people. So that is great. Welcome, everyone. 30 seconds and we will begin. Okay. Okay. So we are going to try to keep it short and sweet today. Every week it's going to get a little shorter. So we've usually done about 40, 45 minutes. Today we're going to try to stop by 7:35 because 7:46, I believe I did write the time down on the chart. So we'll get there, but I believe it's 7:46 is candle lighting today. So we'd like to give everybody enough time to be able to go and prepare and light the Shabbos candles. Okay, so we will begin with, and I actually had a few minutes today. Thought it'd be a quiet day, and then turned out to be quite a hectic day, but nevertheless, I prepared a new chapter of Tehillim because we have been recycling, and every week we do, which is fine anyway, but today I prepared a new meditation, new chapter of Tehillim. So we will begin with our regular Yedid Nefesh, but first, let's do Haveinu Shalom Aleichem, a little music. Someone give me thumbs up. Julie, I could see you, so if you can give me thumbs up as soon as you can hear the music. Okay, so we will go to read we will sing Yedid Nefesh together. I skipped the meditation to this, being that you might have better sound now. I skipped the meditation for this prayer today because we have to have enough time to do the new meditation and finish on time. So let's join together Yedid Nefesh in Hebrew and then in English. Yedid Nefesh Avarachamon Mishoy Chavdecha Ritzoinecha Yarutz Avdecha Kemo Yayo Yishtachave Elamul Hadorecha Yerabeloi Yedido Yisecha Mino Yefes Etzuf V'chol Toam Hadur Noeh Zif Oilam Nafeshi Choyelas Ahavosecha Ana elana rifana la beharo isla noyam zivecha astis chazek b'si yisrapei v'hoi sala simcha soilam v'sikemu rachamecha v'chosana al beinahu v'cha ki ze kama nichsoif nichsafti lirois b'siperes ozecha elecha meda libi v'chosana v'yalti salom Igalena Oferois Chavivi Olai Esukas Sheloimecho Toireret Mikvoidecho Nagila V'nismecha Boch Ma'erov Kiva moyed v'chanenu ki meyolam ay lay 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 did it lay 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 did it lay la la da da lay 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 did it lay 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 did it lay la lay did it lay la da 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 did it la la da did it da 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 dum da la dum da la 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 da 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 dum ya 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 yo. Beloved of the soul, compassionate Father, draw your servant to your will. Then your servant will hurry like a hart to bow before your majesty. To him, your friendship will be sweeter than the dripping of the honeycomb and all taste. Majestic, beautiful radiance of the universe, my soul is sick for your love. Please, O God, heal her now by showing her the pleasantness of your radiance. Then she will be strengthened and healed, and eternal gladness will be hers. O worthy one, may your mercy be aroused, and please take pity on the son of your beloved, because it is so very long that I have yearned intensely to see the splendor of your strength. Only these my heart desired, so please take pity and do not conceal yourself. Please be revealed and spread upon me, my beloved, the shelter of your peace, that we may rejoice and be glad with you. Hasten, beloved, for the time has come, and show us grace as in days of old. So today I want to share a little joke. And by the way, the pictures are not just to help you, the pictures also to help me, so I remember what I wanted to do next. So I have a joke and then a little story. Hopefully the joke will tie in a little bit with the message. So this guy is hired to be the CEO of a huge corporation. And the CEO who's going out of office, he hands him 3 envelopes. And he says, when you are in a predicament, you're having a hard time, open up the envelope. Start with number 1, then go to number 2, then number 3, and you'll have help. So he started to do his work. Things were going well. Company's doing really well. doing really well. But it didn't last long, and suddenly things started to there were issues. Sales started to go down. So he figures now is time to open the drawer, take out envelope number 1, and open it up. He opens it up, and it says, blame your predecessor. So he calls a meeting, and he says to everyone, listen, this is not our issue. This was left over by the mess that the CEO before had made. We could put it together. Let's put our minds together and we'll get the sales back up. Don't worry. And indeed, sales went back up. Everything was going well. So for a little while, and then things start to go down again. And he feels it's time to open envelope number 2. He opens number 2 and it just says reorganize. So he calls a meeting together. He says, you're fired, you're demoted, you're promoted. He starts to move everybody around and he says, we got to make do things a little differently. And this way, hopefully we'll bring up sales again. And indeed, things started to become a little better. And he continues until once again, things start to go down. And he opens up the 3rd envelope and it reads, prepare 3 envelopes. Hold on one second. I keep hearing a little sound and I want to see what it is. Give me 1 second. You know what it was? Okay. That wasn't part of the joke. So, this week's Torah portion is part of Devarim, the 5th book of the Torah. Hold on 1 second, Sarah. This week's Torah portion is part of the book of Devarim, Deuteronomy, the 3rd portion. And the book of Deuteronomy, Moses, before he passes away, he repeats many of the things that happens, encourages the Jewish people as they prepare to go into the land of Israel, to conquer the land of Canaan. And one of the things that he mentions in this week's Torah portion, he talks about the golden calf. And in the verse, it says that Moses was actually told by God after the sin of the golden calf that he is being demoted from his spiritual level. It's based on one of the verses, that he's being demoted from his spiritual level. And the question is, Moses was not involved, as we know, in the golden calf at all. Moses was up in heaven when the Jewish people sinned with the golden calf. And so the question is, if Moses wasn't involved in the golden calf, why would he be demoted from his position? So I have a little story, and then we'll be able to appreciate what was going on. The story is, so my question, by the way, was only to get into the story. And that was the connection with the joke. The story was that the Baal Shem Tov, who was the founder of the Hasidic movement, one of the greatest Jewish leaders and tzaddikim, righteous people that have ever lived, Rabbi Yisrael Baal Shem Tov, who lived 350 years ago or so. And the Baal Shem Tov used to pray, and often his prayers would take so long, his students and followers, they wouldn't feel it's respectful to leave while the Baal Shem Tov was praying. So they would wait. They would wait until he was done. And sometimes it was several hours. He would, especially Friday night. One Friday night, the Baal Shem Tov was praying. The congregation, his followers, his people, had finished their prayers much quicker. And they figured that until he finishes his prayers, because usually it goes on for so long, it might be worth it to go home, get something to eat, and then come back. So slowly, quietly, they slipped out of the room. They figured he usually takes 2 or 3 hours. When they come back, everything will be fine. They came back with plenty of time. And when they came back into the synagogue, they see that the Baal Shem Tov was finished his prayers. He had finished early that week. So they asked him, Rebbe, what's going on? Why did you finish so quickly? And the Baal Shem Tov says, I'll give you a parable. And he says there was a group of people walking, maybe it was in a forest or wherever it was, together with their leader. And the leader had a very good eyesight. And he noticed up a very, very high tree, there was a beautiful bird. It was singing the most beautiful songs. This incredible bird, if I can get that bird, if we can get that bird and bring it back home, that's going to be the bird that we're going to love. We're going to love those melodies and just enjoy the beautiful bird. But how are we going to get that bird? How are we going to climb that tree? So they created a human ladder. And they started to climb, and it took time. And as they were climbing, the people who were already on the human ladder were getting a little tired, until everybody gets up and climbs onto the next person, onto the next person. It was just becoming very tiring. So the guy at the bottom says, it's taking too long. I'm going to slip away. So Baal Shem Tov says, could you imagine what happens? Of course, if they slip away, there is no way they're going to be able to get up there and get hold of that bird. Because the only way the leader who's able to see that bird is able to reach that bird and get the bird is only because they have helped and assisted in creating that ladder. And so the Baal Shem Tov said, I'm your leader, and as your leader, I can only extend my prayers and have that concentration and that energy with your help. The moment you left, I didn't feel your help any longer, and so I wasn't able to reach all the way, and I had to come back down. The point is, an idea is, that as a leader, the leader is only a leader because he has a follower. In fact, in one of our prayers, we say, in Ashrei, one of the famous prayers that we say 3 times a day, it's from one of the last chapters in the book of Psalms. It actually starts off with Ashrei, which is before it's from a different chapter, but most of it is from the probably 5th to the last chapter of Tehillim. I believe 145. Or 146. So the Tehillim there, it says a very interesting thing. It says, Malchuscha Malchus Kol Olamim, that God's kingdom is the kingdom of all of the worlds, Umimshaltecha B'chol Dar V'Dar, and his rulership is in every generation. And the question is, if we're talking about his kingdom in every Malchuscha Malchus Kol Olamim, if his kingdom is the kingdom of all worlds, why does it change now to rulership? That the rulership is in every generation. What's the difference between rulership and kingdom? So a king can only be a king if he has a following. A rabbi can only be a rabbi. A teacher can only be a teacher if he has a student. But a dictator, a ruler, can decide to be a ruler even if he doesn't have a following, even if he doesn't want, if you decide that you're not following him, he could decide he's going to be a ruler and he becomes a ruler. A king cannot be a king. He won't have a title of a king without a following. A rebbe can't be a rebbe without a chassid. But I could be in control if I want, without having anybody I'm in control of. Moshe Rabbeinu, Moses was our king or our rebbe, our leader. And as a leader, without us, and if we fail, he fails too. So the leaders of the generation are counting on us on our little deed, and our little struggle and elevation in our spiritual matters. And when we do, we not only lift up ourselves, but we lift up our leaders as well. It's very, very powerful. Now, our responsibility can be seen on so many different levels. And this is just another way of looking at our responsibility in this world. So that's the little story that we have for this week. And now I'd like to continue with the meditation of chapter 87. Now, Susan, I know you're online. Everybody's on mute at this time, but I want to just mention that Henry, it's interesting, Henry, who didn't come on today, but you had him on last week. Hopefully he'll come on again in the future. But he sent me something on social media. Maybe he sent it to you as well. And I realized, it was yesterday, and I realized how connected it is with chapter 87. And so I put his quote in my meditation. It's a famous thing, but it's a beautiful, beautiful quote, and you'll see how it ties in. So this chapter 87 of Tehillim, was written by King David in praise of Jerusalem. Jerusalem is the spiritual center, as we know, of the world, and its air is described as making people wiser. It says Eretz Yisrael or Yerushalayim. If you go there, you become wise. Its blessed status resulted in it producing many great men throughout the millennia. And David concludes by reminding us that we must pray to be returned to Jerusalem with the redemption. May it be speedily in our days. Now, the chapter of Tehillim, as you look over here, I'm going to show you the English. Chapter 5, it says, and to Zion it will be said, man after man was born in her, which means that many great men were born in Jerusalem, and he will establish it on high. But there's another way of understanding this verse. And that is that even after we've gone into exile and we're no longer in Jerusalem, nevertheless, man after man considers it as if they were born in Jerusalem. You know, if you ever go around and you talk to someone of Italian descent, they'll tell you that the Italian, only as long as they're 4 or 5 generations. After that, Italian is that they don't remember that they were from Italian descent, unless they have to fill out a form. But they don't identify. If someone was from descendant of a Roman, they're not going to tell you. Maybe they'll tell you that their great-grandfather came from Romans, but they won't say that they themselves are Romans. But a Jewish person, even many, many years later, after almost 2,000 years, that we are out of Israel, even though we were still had a small group of people always in Israel throughout the generations. But when majority of Jewish people were out of Israel, nevertheless, we still consider Israel as our birthplace, as our homeland. It's the homeland of every single one of us. In fact, it says in Jewish scripture that every single one of us owns a portion in Israel. It's better to buy one. But if you don't buy one, you should know that you have somewhere, there's a piece of land that belongs to all of us. Israel belongs to us. We were born in Israel. We come from Israel. That is our birthplace. And so that's where Henry, the Holocaust survivor, came on last week with Susan's help. Sent me this message, which I've actually used in the past many years ago in sermons. That when Henry Kissinger was told Golda Meir, you must remember that first I am an American, second I am Secretary of State, and third I am a Jew, Golda Meir responded, Henry, you forget that in Israel we read from right to left. And so, yes, you know, there's always a big question, am I a Jewish American or am I an American Jew? But whatever it is, we should remember that we are Jewish and our Judaism comes first. So now we can understand verse 5, that even after these many, many years, we still consider Jerusalem our birthplace. So let's read this in Hebrew and in English. Livnei Korach, Mizmor Shir, Yesodasai Bahari Kodesh, Ohev Adonai, Shari Tzion, Mikol Mishkenos Yaakov. Nichbados Medubar Bach, Irha Elohim Sela, Askir Rahav, Uvav El Yodo, Hinei Feleshes Vitzar Im Kush Ze Yulad Sham. Ulitzion Yomar Ish Veish Yulad Ba, Vahu Yechonaneha Elyon, Adonai Yispar Bechsov Amim, Ze Yulad Sham Sela. Visharim Kecholalim Kol Mayonavach. And now in the English. Of the sons of Korach, a song with musical accompaniment, whose foundation is on the mountains of the sanctuary. The Lord loves the gates of Zion more than all the dwellings of Jacob. Glorious things are said about you, the city of God, forever. I will remind Rahav and Babylon of my beloved ones. Behold, Philistia and Tyre with Cush. This one was born there. And to Zion it will be said, man after man was born in her, and he will establish it on high. When the Lord counts in the script of the people forever, he will say, this one was born there. And singers as well as flute players, all my innards are concerned with you. So we're always concerned with Jerusalem. We're always thinking about Israel and Jerusalem. And may Hashem return us there as soon as possible. Yevarechecha Adonai mitzion, rei betov Yerushalayim. Yevarechecha Hashem mitzion, kol yemei chayecha. Yevarechecha Hashem mitzion, rei betov Yerushalayim. Yevarechecha Hashem mitzion, Kol yemei chayecha, Orevanim levanecha, Shalom al Yisrael. 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 May the Lord bless you from Zion and see the good of Jerusalem all the days of your life. And may you see children born to your children and see peace upon Israel. Today, candle lighting is at 7:46. Don't forget to give a little charity before Shabbos, as is customary, especially before candle lighting. And we'll finish off with Oseh Shalom, and then we can get ready for Shabbos. Of course, we'll all wish each other good Shabbos as soon as we finish Oseh Shalom. Please join along. Oseh Shalom bimromav, O Yaseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Oseh Shalom bimromav, O Yaseh Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imru amen. Yaseh Shalom Shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. 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 V'emaru Amen. So I want to just mention, before we open the room for everybody to wish each other good Shabbos, that we are going to continue with a Friday night service until the end of this month. Then during the month of September, we will probably only have pre-holiday services on Zoom. We're figuring out what we're going to do for shofar blowing. This year it makes it easier because it's only one day of shofar blowing, the second day of Rosh Hashanah, because the first day is Shabbat, so there's no shofar blowing. So it makes it easier. We have to figure out how we're going to do some kind of shofar blowing and what we're going to do with some kind of services. I do have an idea that I'm going to try to see if we can implement to make it comfortable. Couple ideas, but we're figuring them out. But meanwhile, we're going to plan to do in the month of September pre-Shabbat holiday services, so that before Yom Kippur, Rosh Hashanah, for example, we'll have a sermon and a service before Rosh Hashanah, and then those who can will come to services, and those who can't will come just for the shofar blowing on the Sunday. As well as Yom Kippur, we'll do a pre-Yom Kippur service with Yizkar and so on for those who are not able to attend on Yom Kippur itself. But I want to mention, so it's important to note that going forward, first of all, please encourage friends and family to join us on Friday night. It's such a nice group of people to join our services. But after the holidays, when we get back in the winter, Shabbos starts very early. So what we're going to do is we are going to do the service on Saturday night for Havdalah instead. So that's what we'll go do going forward. In the winter, we'll do Havdalah Saturday night. So this way we can keep it pretty much the same time. Otherwise, every week it gets earlier before Shabbos, and it's hard for people to keep up with it. So it's the women should try every week to keep up with going earlier with the Shabbos candle lighting, but to get everybody together at the same time at a different time every week is going to be a little difficult. So we're going to do Havdalah from after Sukkot till Pesach, and then once the summer comes along after the change of the clock again, we'll by Pesach time, hopefully by that time we'll be able to all get together and celebrate and do the service on Friday evening together in the shul. But until then, we will enjoy our Zoom sessions. So let me just go off YouTube, and we'll do a quick Shabbat Shalom.